African Americans. Who are they? And why does the history about black people who triumphed over the horrors of slavery to emerge as a successful and influential minority often begin with the transatlantic slave trade? But prior to slavery, who precisely were these individuals? And can we uncover traces of their history within the Bible, similar to the exploration of other prominent nations? In the United States, a significant portion of the black population identifies as Christian. The majority belong to black Protestant denominations such as Baptist, Methodist, and Pentecostal churches. Additionally, there are many black Catholics and members of other Christian denominations. It's intriguing how African Americans will gather in churches every Sunday, hearing stories about nationalities like the Babylonians, Persians, and Romans, while reverencing a European version of God, but never getting an answer to who they are as African Americans in the Bible. This is because the slaves that were brought to America had no choice but to accept the slave master's religion. From the greatest generation to baby boomers, many have embraced Western traditional Christian theology. However, millennials have challenged the status quo, questioning the accuracy of Western theology and the lack of African American representation in the Bible. The story begins in the book of Genesis with the creation of the first man and woman, Adam and Eve. God formed Adam from the dust of the earth and breathed life into him, making him the first human being ever created. The Hebrew translation reveals that dust means mud. Going a step further, the name Adam translates to Ordon in Hebrew, signifying ruddy or red clay. National Geographic, through advances in forensic science, has provided a replica of what they believe Adam looked like, supporting the idea of Adam being a black man who was created out of the earth's elements. Dr. Theron D. Williams, author of The Bible is Black History, documented through his research that Adam was indeed a black man living in the Garden of Eden, located in what we know today as East Africa, with scriptural and scientific evidence supporting the idea that the first man ever created was a person of color. We must question why the image of a European Adam is continually promoted. The Christian Church has often failed many of its African American followers by teaching a doctrine that black people were cursed with servitude through the curse of Ham's son, Canaan. This doctrine evolved into a racial ideology, justifying the evils of slavery on the merit that black people were cursed with dark skin, which is nowhere in the Bible. Along with the transatlantic slave trade being a prophetic curse of Canaan, whose bloodline was believed to be that of all black people. However, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary clarifies this doctrine, stating that Ham, the youngest son of Noah, was the progenitors of the dark-skinned races, but not the Negroes. Dark-skinned races like the Egyptians, Libyans, Ethiopians, and Canaanites. If Ham's descendants are represented by dark-skinned North and East Africans, but not the Negroes, then where did the West African Bantus or modern-day African American come from? If Noah's son Ham was the progenitor of the dark-skinned races, what did Shem and Japheth look like? Were they and their father Noah white? How did the European Noah give birth to one dark-skinned son Ham? The Bible provides historical references to the appearance of the ancient Israelites. Moses and Paul, both Israelites, were mistaken for Egyptians, indicating similar physical dark characteristics with the dark-skinned Egyptians. Many ancient historians argue that the ancient Israelites were black people from the line of Shem. Historian Rudolph R. Windsor wrote in his book, From Babylon to Timbuktu, that the original Jews were black people, using the biblical story of Joesph to support his argument. For those who may not know, Joesph, an Israelite, was mistaken for a dark-skinned Egyptian by his own brothers. Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian from the 1st century CE, wrote in The Great Roman Jewish War about millions of Jews fleeing Israel into West Africa to escape Roman persecution. The written testimony by Josephus is further validated by geographical location and areas the Roman Empire had already occupied. Basic survival instincts would force the Jews out of Masada from the Romans and away from any Roman strongholds. Since the Roman Empire extended into North Africa, Jordan, Iraq, and Syria, Josephus's account confirms the migration of the Jews running into the wilderness of North Africa and migrating into Central West and South Africa, blending in with Nilotic native tribes while hiding from the Romans. The theory that European or Middle Eastern Jews ran into the wilderness of Africa and settled in West, Central, and South Africa appears unrealistic, about as unrealistic as Christian pastors teaching that a European version of Christ and his family hid in ancient Egypt amongst dark-skinned Hamitic locals, as it states in the book of Matthew, chapter 2. Historians' assertion that the Jews of the Bible were black people who migrated into Central, West, and South Africa, settling in places like Benin, Ghana, Nigeria, is further confirmed by the 1747 map of Negro Land. This map was crafted by 18th century royal cartographer and engraver Eamon Bowen. The map was commissioned by King George II of England. This map also identifies the nationality of the transatlantic slaves, that some were indeed from the tribe of Judah, as the area on the map where the capturing and selling of black people took place is labeled Kingdom of Judah. In the 1500s, the Spanish and Portuguese established colonies in various parts of the Americas. They brought slaves from West Africa, specifically from the regions between the Senegal and Niger rivers, to fulfill the labor demands of sugar and tobacco plantations. In August 1619, the first Hebrew slaves arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. The slave ship Manifest documented these captives with Hebrew names, providing clear evidence that they hailed from or regions near the Kingdom of Judah in West Africa. These Hebrews were the descendants of the same Jews who migrated to Africa during the rule of the Roman Empire, while the Jews that fled Israel and settled in West Africa managed to keep their Hebrew culture. Eventually, their Hebrew customs would be stripped from them through the generations of slavery in the Americas. Do you have historical insights to contribute to the conversation about African Americans in the Bible? Please leave a comment. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching.